Hey everyone, my name is the Retroden, and I recently beat the New War quest or main expansion for Warframe, which came out a few years ago, so I thought I'd go over my thoughts on it in this video here. And right before getting into the video, I want to plug the channel membership, which for only €2 you can get your names in the end credits of the video and a special role out on the Discord channel. But let's get right into the video. So, starting things out, I'd like to say that I really enjoyed how diverse the quest was right from the start, since you really only get access to your Warframe a few hours into the quest itself. I only started recording the quest after a few minutes in, when I realized I could make a video out of my thoughts, but the parts I didn't record, despite not being very large, were very interesting, and they had you playing as a Grineer serving under Vayhak and a Corpus guy under Alad V, each with their unique mechanics, which I'm not going to go into detail here since I don't have any of the footage to actually back it up. I could replay the quest to get footage for you, but I'm not sure if replaying the quest will lock me into it until the end as it did originally, and seeing as this quest is more than a few hours long, I would be locked out of playing the actual game for quite some time, which I don't want for myself. Nevertheless, I started recording whenever you get to the Drifter part of the quest, which is the part where everything starts going haywire. Since from what I remember from Warframe lore up until this point, you hadn't even seen the Drifter anywhere or knew it was a thing. Keeping in mind I dropped the game whenever Chimera Prologue was released. Despite it being a very different style of gameplay from what you're used to, the Drifter part of the quest was really amazing. I loved the dystopian setting of a world controlled by Ballas, I quite enjoyed the new hacking minigame they had, and I didn't mind being strapped to the ground for most of the time, not having access to my bullet jump mechanics. Since this version of your operator at this point doesn't have any void powers, which is something I'm going to get into a little bit as well, you're limited to this pistol, which I didn't really mind, to be fair. At the start of the Drifter sections, you play mostly stealthish missions in which I tried to go for the bonus objectives, but after some quick research I realized they didn't really give you anything, so I just ignored them for the rest of the quest. The rest of the Drifter sections up until the part where your Warframe comes back consists of you finding ways to make the Lotus whole again, which leads you through different planets to find help. While I'm writing this, I'm realizing I actually skipped a lot of footage, so now I'm going to do a quick image slideshow to explain the small portion which I wanted to talk about now. The first place you go to is Fortuna. There you find help to get a ship, you do an awful sneaking mission with awful detection, you get a ship, fly to another planet in which you find the Unhow, Stalker is there, Unhow gives you an S-tier bow, and then you're off to fight 3 monsters called Archons, which Unhow's peacock of a son cooked up in a lab far away. So the 3 monsters I just mentioned are holed up in their own planet, each one has unique mechanics, but the fights aren't really that hard and were quite balanced and fun if I had to say so myself. In the moments between killing these Archons and leaving in the present time, your character gets flashbacks to the disaster that happened on the Zariman 10-0, which I'm guessing you already know is basically the starting point of Warframe history if you disregard everything they're introducing now and in the future with the Man in the Wall quest and Warframe 1999. Honestly, these were some of my favorite moments of the quest, seeing as some of these moments were being teased since way back on quests like Nata and the Second Dream from way back then, so it's good to finally be able to see them for my own eyes instead of some cryptic speech by Lotus or something written in text inside of the codex in-game. It's amidst these flashbacks that you get prompted to choose between the Drifter, the older version of yourself, or the Tenno, which are both alive in different timelines at the same time. I chose the Drifter just because it was different and honestly felt cooler overall. After that we get to Cetus, where the main timeline plot resumes and we start the chase for Ballas, the main villain, who at this point is basically using a ship to try and eat the sun so he can find his way to the system of Tau, which is another complicated lore point that I'm not going to try to get into here. Feel free to correct me at any point in the comments because Warframe lore gets more complicated each passing day and I'm certainly not trying to be an authority on it. We then go to Earth, I climb a tower through Cetus and finally using my Warframe at this point and get to the enemy's ship, which weirdly reminded me of the tile set from Oblivion Towers for some reason. After going through all those shenanigans, you are then thrown into a railjack section. For those who don't know anything about Warframe, railjack is basically the Star Wars Battlefront 2 dogfight mode but inside of Warframe and on a bigger ship which you have to repair and crewman yourself. Somewhere in the middle of this part you get to a railjack section where you have to dodge the sun rays, yeah, the literal sun rays, so you don't get melted by the heat, which somehow you are capable of going near for some reason. I died once here because if I'm being really honest, I don't think the visual cues were really clear of when the sun was blasting or not, so that was really weird to play through and confusing at times. Finishing this railjack section, you get thrown into yet another gimmicky section, this time in the form of the Necromech or the Void Rig, which is the one everyone uses. I quite like this mecha-styled gameplay, and since I don't get many chances to use him inside the normal day-to-day activities in the game, I quite enjoyed going through this section. Also at this point, the Peacock Bastard of Unhoused Son decided he had a change of heart, which was convenient for him since Ballas, whom he was following, decided to go haywire like it was clear he would. It's only inside the ship that you get to kill the last Archon, nothing complicated, and you move on to what is the beginning of the end. Very poetic, I know. You reach the final platform and this is where it's all going down. Lotus is here, Ballas is here, Ballas yoinks the final crystal needed to restore the Lotus, and the final boss fight begins. Well, the final boss fight is no hassle. First thing first, you have to deflect Lotus's beams to crack the mirrors around the room. The problem is, after doing all that, the game literally bugged on me and I spent minutes running around not knowing what I was doing wrong. Turns out, I wasn't doing anything wrong, the game just decided to not go to the next boss phase for some reason. A quick reload fixed it and I was back to the fight. I dodged some lasers, I hit Ballas 4 times, gaslit him into thinking the love of his life was calling him, and then the Lotus sucked the life force out of him with a smoosh on the lips, which led to what was probably my favorite part of the quest, the ending cinematic. Lotus gets restored to her full form and is working on closing the Void Portal while this happens. A huge entity with an awesome design, which I later found out was the man in the wall, and now I'm really interested in what Warframe has planned for the future because this moment alone really carried this entire final of the quest. You then get an option to choose how you want your Lotus to appear for the rest of the game, to which I chose the Lotus since it was the balanced option and what honestly felt the most correct to me in general when it comes to the lore of the game. This is basically how the quest ends. You get a ton of rewards at the end, one of them being the bow you use against the Archons, which is currently a really good bow that I've been using, and the rest were just a mix of weapons, decorations and quests that I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. So for some final thoughts on the quest. Given I was waiting for this for quite some years now, I can say I was really pleased by not only how it turned out, but also how it set up future events for Warframe. I didn't mind the duration of the quest at all, and I think that this quest is also a good demonstration of what Digital Extremes is capable when it comes to everything from gameplay to writing to world building. Everything they've been showing is promising, and I can't wait to play whatever they have ready for us in the future, since by the looks of it, it's going to be pretty good. I hope you have a great day. Just wanted to get my thoughts on this quest out on the channel. Other than that, this has been the Retro Den, and I'm out.